Howdy, y'all. Caleb here. This past weekend, I got to play at the Lonestar GT here in Texas. It's a pretty big tournament put on by Matt Taylor, wonderful organizer there. And we had, I think it was close to 100 people, maybe 90 at this GT. Had a ton of fun and did pretty well for what my expectations were. I took a little bit of a weird list. We'll get into that here in a few minutes. I did come in 17th place, not too shabby. I went 3-1-1. I think this is the first time I've ever had a draw at a GT before. So that was interesting. A lot of fun. So I only lost one game. That's about as good as I can expect to do right there. But one of the cool things here, maybe 17th isn't that impressive, but there were 4 golden tickets to the Warhammer Championship in Atlanta up for bids. One went to first, second, and third place. They each got one. And then there was one for best overall or best, most well-rounded player. And guess who got that, guys? That's right. So this goes to like the score. Your actual score goes into this. Your army painting and then sports all goes into this. And I got it somehow. So you know what that means? I guess I'm going to have to go to Atlanta, Georgia for the Warhammer Championship. Oh, man, I'm going to get crushed there. I'm too much of a narrative player for that scene. But that's pretty awesome. That was quite an honor to get the Sheriff Award here at the Lonestar GT. So that was pretty cool. Definitely going up on my shelf over there, where I can look at it and remember this tournament. So, a lot of fun there. Look forward to Atlanta. At this GT, here's how the top 10 shook out. Number 1 came in with James West with his Flesh Eater Courts. Flesh Eater Courts right now is looking really strong. A very good army. And James West is a very good player. So pair those two together, and it's no wonder he won this tournament. He actually handed me my loss in round 3, and it was not even close. So we'll get to that here in a bit. We had, there's 2 Idoneth Deepkin lists in the top 10. That was a little surprising, but they seem pretty good too. Some eels, some turtles in those lists. So pretty cool. Jose with his Seraphon went 4-0-1. Awesome. Well, we're going to take a look at his list in just a second too. I wanted to highlight his list because a little bit different than some Seraphon that you see. Some Mega-Gargant, some Blades, all from very good players. David Rodriguez from Stormkeep. YouTube channel, if you watch them for Stormcast, he went 4-1 with a double Palador, double Castigator list, which is pretty cool. Glad I didn't have to play him. Good player, just Paladors are so good right now. We've got Ashley with Idoneth, Gavin with Flesh Eater Courts, Randall with Cities of Sigmar, and Chase with Seraphon. So, bunch of good names, bunch of good players there in the top 10. It was a pretty competitive field there. Looking at Jose's list, he came in 3rd place with his Seraphon list, and I really like this list. I've played not quite something like this, but I played something similar at home and really enjoyed it. What's unique here is that there is no Slann, there is no Kroak, and I think Jose showed that you don't have to have a Slann or a Kroak to do extremely well. If you use those points for other things, then maybe you get a little bit more mileage out of it. So he's got Shadow Strike, Lore of Celestial Manipulation, Forbidden Power as his manifestation. He's got a Skink Starseer with Kotal Familiar and Beastmaster. A Bastiladon with Solar Engine. I didn't get a chance to talk to him how he was using the Solar Engine, but in this list I would imagine it's holding that objective in the back while still being able to shoot at targets of opportunity. So I would imagine he's not pushing this one too hard forward, otherwise you'd take the Snake's Bastiladon. So I'd imagine that's what he's doing. He's got a reinforced unit of Kroxigor, the normal kind, that are good against infantry, and then Kroxigor with War Spawned that are good against everything, as long as you have these Raptidon Chargers in combat near him. So a good combination there between those units. Then his 2nd regiment has a Skink Star Priest with some Hunters of Huanche, some Raptidon Chargers, and some Raptidon Hunters. Those Raptidon Hunters could technically buff up the big unit of Raptidon Chargers to basically save you a command point if you needed to. So maybe that's there, or it may just be in this way for points because he's right at that 2,000 point limit. So he's got good screens. He's got a lot of damage from those Kroxigor. He's still got 3 casts with his wizards and some good utility. And those Raptidon Chargers can go extremely fast with Starseer Beastmaster. I talked to him a little bit, and as he's setting up his screens, he's kind of waiting for people to hit him, and then he hits with Kroxigor, powers through back out of there, and then he can go back in and hit again. So he's really utilizing those Kroxigor to their most extent. He's not being super aggressive. He's being a little bit more reactionary, letting him hit his screens, and then nailing them with those Kroxigor as needed. So I like that a lot better. He said when he was playing a Slann, he tended to be a little bit more aggressive because he was hoping for that to bring back units. And if you've played a Slann very often, you know how disappointing it is to be counting on that bringing a unit back with the Slann's ability, and it just never seems to go off when you need it. So I think a very smart list. I'm all in favor of not automatically putting a Slann or a Kroak in your list. I think it can work without it, as Jose showed here. Chase's, he was also in the top 10, and he had a Seraphon list that's pretty different than what Jose was running. This is an all cavalry list, which is pretty cool. He's running it in Sunclaw, 2-drop, Celestial Manipulation, Morbid. He does have Kroak. He has a reinforced unit of Agredons, a minimum unit of Agredons, reinforced Saurus Guard to help out Kroak there. They're usually going to stick together pretty closely to keep that 5-up ward on the guard. A Skink Starseer with Kotal Familiar and Beastmaster, similar loadout to what Jose was taking. A reinforced unit of Raptidon Chargers, and then 2 units of Ripperdactyl Riders. So an extremely fast list. Lots of cavalry, can be just about anywhere on the board and can still do quite a bit of damage. So a very cool list from Chase, and he did awesome with it. So he went 4-1. Great showing there for Seraphon at this tournament. So let's take a look at my list. I'll as I've done before, I'm going to walk you through my thought process here on what in the world I ended up taking. So last tournament, I had taken a 10-monster list and had done decently well with it. I think I went 2-1 just at a local. So I kind of wanted to iterate on that. I wanted to get Kroak in here at a major GT. I hadn't played Kroak in a major GT yet in this new edition, so that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to get Kroak into my monster list. So to do so, I'm going to have to drop some monsters, unfortunately. So I was working with something like this. Thunderquake, obviously, with Kroak, a couple of Arc of Sotek Bastiladons, 2 Engines of the Gods, some Hunters of Huanche, because you got to have those, a Scar Veteran on Carnosaur, and then 2 Stegodons, Stegodon Chief and a normal Stegodon. So that's kind of what I was working with, and I was having some fun with it on the table. Plenty of monsters to go around. I just wasn't quite having enough damage output. So as I was sitting here looking at it, I thought, you know what? The Stegodon Chief and the Stegodon, together they're 420 points. And that's when I had an epiphany. I said, maybe it's time to break out my Mega-Gargant ally, my mercenary, Bundo Whalebiter. He's 420 points. I have mine built up here. He's walking a Carnosaur. So instead of stuffing stuff in the bag, like infantry in the bag, you're able to feed those units to your Carnosaur. So I played around with this a little bit at home, and it seemed like it was pretty good. So he offers a little bit of tech that I was missing in some of the other things. So he's able this mercenary unit, this Mega-Gargant, has 35 wounds on a 4-up save, a pretty big wound count there. It's pretty much comparable with the 2 Stegodons, but I did feel like his damage output as I was practicing with him was a little bit better and more consistent than the 2 Stegodons. Stegodon damage is always disappointing, and so he has good rend, he has high damage, he has some tech pieces with being able to just eat infantry, He has an ability that allows you to kick objectives around the board, which is always nice. He can step over terrain or other models, so he can do some stuff that the Stegodons can't do. He has a shooting attack, which is really pretty bad, but sometimes you can get some damage off on it. But more than that, it's just a massive 20 control on an objective. So that kind of really plays into my whole strategy here. My monsters stand on objectives, and he's worth 20 versus the two skinks who are only worth 10. And so as I was playing with this on game plans where you have fewer objectives, you know, if I can get a couple monsters and then him behind them, it's an immovable force. You're never going to get through this. And so that's kind of my plan behind him. The Mercenary does come with a little bit of a unique ability where you can, in the combat phase, you can just add 1 to all his attacks. You roll a dice, and on a 4-up, you'll fight last. So you have about a 50-50 shot to fight last. That came in pretty handy in most of my practice games I was doing with him. And that really just, like, if you're charging him in, sometimes it's worth just going ahead and risking it. He can usually take the punch and then deal out some pretty massive damage with extra attacks. If he's already bracketed, then you might go ahead and try to roll it anyway just to help him get back up to his normal attack, actually even further than his normal attack profile, even when he's bracketed. So that's kind of what my list ended up looking like. I'm taking Thunderquake. It is 3 drops because of my Mercenary that I'm taking. But we're doing Celestial Manipulation for my lore. And this one was critical because it has Run and Charge. I really struggled. I wanted to take the lore of the jungle to get the healing spell, but in the end, I went with the Celestial Manipulation so I could get Run and Charge, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Primal Energy, I need the heals on all my monsters, so I want that Life Swarm is the primary reason I'm taking Primal. Gnashing Jaws is just a bonus. It's a decent spell. And takes up quite a bit of board space. So it's basically a Stegodon when it's charging. It's doing damage like a Stegodon. So General's Regiment is Lord Kroak. So I did get Lord Kroak in this list. He was a lot of fun. We've got 2 Basildons with the Ark of Sotex, an Engine of the Gods, Hunters of Huanche with Starstone Bolas. My second regiment, I have the unkillable Carnosaur with incandescent retresses, so he's healing in each of our hero phases, mine and the opponent's. Being of the Stars, so he's essentially ethereal, unrendable. He's always going to be on a 4-up save no matter how much Ren you have. In his regiment is also an Engine of the Gods, and then we have our Regiment of Renown of the Mega-Gargant. So we still have quite a few monsters here. You know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 monsters. We have Kroak added to that, and then some Hunters of Huanche. So we still have a big board presence and some ways to score battle tactics. So I guess before we get into the games, let me talk about what went well with this list, okay? So what went really well, I think, was obviously the Hunters of Huanche. They're always good. It was a good addition to add this into this list. Lots of good utility with their ability to shut down some charges, but also just a teleport to get in the backfield. My Source Scar Veteran on Carnosaur, my whole idea going into this is I'm probably going to try to get Run and Charge on him and just shoot him across the board, hopefully into a flank to hit something on their flanks, maybe hit one of their battle tactic scoring units. But more than that, just get onto their side of the board and cause problems. Hopefully he can stay alive for a turn or two. They'll have to dedicate some resources to it, and while that's happening, I'm on those objectives, holding things down, scoring battle tactics, and they're having to deal with this unrendable healing Carnosaur in their backlines. For 230 points, well worth it for what he does. And you'll see as we talk through some of these games, some games he was just like the MVP. There were some games where that strategy didn't exactly work, but in general, 230 points, great loadout for him, and did exactly what I wanted him to do. In this tournament, the Engines of the Gods were kind of disappointing. I'm going to be honest. I powered them up just about every turn 1, and then tried to fire them off in turn 2 if things were hurt, or if I was looking to go into combat trying to roll that fight first. But I think I went first in every matchup in this tournament, if I remember correctly. I think I went first every time. Either mostly just because I have them 3-drop, but I think one game by choice. And a lot of times I just never really had a great opportunity to use the heals from the engine. And when it did go off, it'd be like 1 health, that it would heal back up. So in general, I kind of felt like the engines were a little disappointing with their abilities. They were still a monster. It's still 16 wounds that they have to try to clear. And they can be hard for some armies to kill them off in one go. So for what they are, it was fine. The engine on top of them, the Cosmic Engine, was a little disappointing, I think, though. Basildons did great. Kroak did well. Kroak, I feel like, is one of those units where into the right army, he feels overpowered. But, if they have highly elite things that are coming towards you, you can hit them with the Celestial, or his spell. I can't think of the name off the top of my head at the moment, but Celestial Deliverance. You can hit him with that and do a ton of damage. It feels so good. But against some matchups, if they have hordes or if they've got good ward saves, then his spell just feels like it does almost nothing. Failing spells with him really feels like you're wasting points. If you ever miscast, that feels terrible. But in general, he did what he needed to do: stay alive, cast some spells, have some fun. Bundo, I feel like he was worth it. Major distraction piece. Everyone had to put a lot of damage into him to take him out, and that left me free to work the rest of the board. I think in just about every matchup he did die, but it took a lot from the opponent to take him down, so that was nice. All right. On to game one. Game one, I was playing against Garrett Olson, and he's playing Stormcast Eternals. It's a bit of a unique list here. Ruination Brotherhood. I play against Stormcast Eternals all the time at home. I've never played against Ruination Brotherhood. So he has just a massive amount of reclusions, and that's kind of what this subfaction is designed to do, is lean into that Ruination Chamber. So he has Iridian the Witness, some prosecutors, some reinforced prosecutors. Now, prosecutors, I know this unit well, and it is a terrifying unit. They can lift a Mega-Gargant in one turn. If they roll just slightly better than average, they'll lift it. But they can easily take off a monster a turn. These prosecutors can. So they are a very dangerous unit. The one thing I do feel good about, if he does try to attack my Mega-Gargant, I have a decent chance at just stuffing a couple of them in the bag, feeding them to my Carnosaur before they ever get to attack. So I don't think he would come after the Mega-Gargant with them, but all my other monsters are an easy target for those prosecutors. 2 units of Vigilers, which just buff his whole army. Ionis. I'm not too worried about Ionis and Iridian. I fought against Ionis enough. I haven't ever fought against Iridian, but as far as I know, Iridian isn't going to do a ton of damage. Iridian and Ionis, I think, are more of a support piece here. I'm not really worried about losing like a one-on-one fight with them and a monster. I may not kill them, but I don't think I'm going to die to them. They just don't do quite enough damage. He does have a Lord Terminos with Hallowed Scrolls and Corvin Lord. I can't quite remember what those do. I think he can give a ward to a unit of reclusions. He had like a 5-up ward on a unit of reclusions for most of the game. So I'm just glad this sub-faction can't take the Quicksilver Draught where it lets the reclusions fight first, because that would have been brutal. But then 2 big units of reclusions. So I don't really want to have to face these reclusions because they can do a ton of mortal wounds, and that's kind of my army's weakness is mortal wound output. I've got these Basildons on a 2-up save, but mortal wounds will just take them out. So I'm looking to try to avoid that. Unfortunately, we're playing Star Strike, and this is a fun one. I like Star Strike. Some people don't like it. It is very random. but this one I think plays into my army quite well because I'm just a bunch of monsters. I'm going to go swarm that objective wherever it falls on turn 1, and then it's going to be, can you get me off of it? If you get on it, you're probably not going to be able to cover the whole thing. I'm going to tow on some monsters onto that and steal it from you, and we're just going to fight over that the whole time. So that's kind of the strategy there. Real high brain there, isn't it? So there's the look. We started the hero phase before we even knew where the objective was. We're starting off strong in game 1. We'll throw down the objective here in just a second, but just look at deployments. He's got his reclusions kind of here in the middle, and that's where I've got my monsters here. Just because of the way that the terrain was placed, I really couldn't put anything over here because I'd have to go the long way around, and I can't really fit monsters through that gap right there, unfortunately. He put it right at 3 inches, so I couldn't fit a monster through it. Over here, same kind of thing. This was just barely over 3 inches, so I couldn't really fit a monster through that. So I lined up these two on the other side of that terrain piece. And then all my monsters here. Hunters in the sky, obviously. His prosecutors are over here. They're outside of range of his heroes. Oh, in Ruination Brotherhood, these prosecutors are basically always going to have +1 attacks, which makes them even more dangerous. These prosecutors can do a lot of damage. They are fragile, though. So it looks like we're just going to meet in the middle. I cast some spells here. I cast that one out and Life Swarm before we knew where the objective was. And it throws down over here on the left side. So you can see into my first turn here. Movement. I think I failed run and charge on Carnosaur. I was looking to send him over like into here and just tag up the corner of those reclusions. This one had a ward on it. But I think I failed the run and charge. And so I wasn't able to do that. It would have been really fun if I could have gotten him over there and tried to tag them up as best as possible, or maybe even kill some of them. They do have a good save. There are quite a few wounds there, and they do mortal wounds. And so it would have been a good target to hit the Carnosaurs back with, but at least maybe I could have kept them tagged into their own territory. So I get 2 monsters on here. That's all I could fit. I kept Engine back here to kind of screen from prosecutors barely coming this way. I left Life Swarm over here to screen my backfield, and this one's kind of over here. So if he wants to bring the prosecutors, he'll have to come back in this way if he wants to try to get Kroak with it, which, not quite sure if that's what his goal will be or not. I move the Mega-Gargant up. I think my tactic was just to take the lands on this piece here. And I drop in my Hunters right outside of 9 of either the reclusions or the prosecutor. So if he's gonna redeploy one of them, I'll still have a target for my ability. So he ended up not redeploying either one. So I tagged it on the prosecutors. That may seem like an odd choice because they have a 3d6 charge all the time. But now at least I feel like he's not going to teleport him. So he's going to have to come fight, and maybe he'll be forced to come fight my Mega-Gargant. And I feel like I would prefer that than him hitting any other monster. So I did get the 3-up roll off, and so they're gonna do -1 to their charge dice. So they're still rolling 2 dice, but at least I don't think he would teleport them through the portal, because then you'd have a 9-inch charge on 2 dice, and that's unlikely. So I don't know how many exact pictures I have of this matchup. Basically what happens is on his turn, he sends everything onto this objective, and we fight it out over this objective for quite some time. These reclusions can do quite a bit of mortal wounds. They take some damage coming in. I tried to get a spell out to block some stuff, but just wasn't really successful at blocking them off with a spell. Ionis comes this way. Iridian comes and I think charges that endless spell. His prosecutors take out the Hunters, but fail the charge into the Mega-Gargant. It was fair. It wasn't like a super easy charge, and he was only on 2 dice. So it's going to be a fight over this middle, and it's really just a grind fest over that objective. Kroak is there, so I'm able to put mortal wounds onto those reclusions, but then he's bringing them back with the Ruination Brotherhood abilities. And so it's a pretty heavy duty fight for 2 turns there on that objective. But my monsters end up winning that fight. You can see this may be going into like maybe the second turn. This may be the end of the first turn. He ends up clearing off both of these monsters. Oh, I had retreated this one. I think that was one of his battle tactics, was to grab to kill off the Carnosaur, and he failed it by like a couple wounds. And I was able to retain control on the objective, I think, at the bottom of 1. Into 2, he clears off this objective, I believe. I had counter charged in this Bastildon. He finally made the charge here. I was able to grab a couple of them, maybe like 2 or 3 of them I think I killed 2 of them maybe that way. And he got the Mega-Gargant down pretty far, but I was able to end up finishing off the prosecutors with the Mega-Gargant. So by the time the bottom of 2 came around, it was getting pretty thin. And as we go into 3, we had a lot of stuff dead. And I was able to swing this Mega-Gargant around this way, take on Iridian and this unit here, and was able to kill off both of those. And we finished off the reclusions with pushing in the rest of the monsters and Kroak. And Ionis went down, I think, due to spells. So I was just able to do enough mortal wounds on him to take him down eventually. He did get Kroak. I did have to roll for Kroak a couple times. He had done some spells or some prayers, damaging prayers into him. Had got some damage through that way. He had sunburned him with his shooting. And so there were a couple turns where I actually had to roll for Kroak, and it was, got the heart going a little bit, because you're always worried. He only took a couple wounds, but you're always worried, are you going to roll, 3 6s and he insta dies? So that was a little worrying. When the objectives fell down, it was basically just mop up time. We had killed off just about everything except for these 2 engines and Kroak. And so it was a heavy duty fight there. I think my Mega-Gargant eventually went down. I can't remember what to. But at this point, he had nothing left. Literally, I think maybe 1 or 2 of those guys. Those may have been dead. I can't remember. And I was able to pull over here and get this game in hand. So it was a good game. I was worried about those reclusions. In turn 2, I'm not gonna lie. I was feeling a little worried when we were sitting here at this point, and I'm surrounded by reclusions, and he was able to kill off some monsters. But by the time turn 3 came around, we had almost wiped each other out, and I had a few things left over, and so that was the game. I feel like on Star Strike mission that happens a lot. You get in there and you fight for 2.5 turns over that middle objective, and it's just whoever is still living at the end, like going into 3, is probably going to win the game. So, but heck of a fun game there with Garrett, and definitely play again anytime. Game 2, we're playing, what is this, Feral Foray. So we've got 3 objectives here. This is a fun one. I like this one. I usually can, since these are pretty close together, usually I can get these pretty centralized and then go attack as needed. A lot of times I'll kick like one of them over with the Mega-Gargant so that I can keep a couple monsters there to just grab all 3 and then send more to attack. At least that's what I've done before. So I'm playing against Daniel Patterson. He's playing Be'lakor. He's playing Slaves of Darkness. And this is a 1-drop Slaves of Darkness list. So, scary. I kind of figured my list was just going to auto-lose to Slaves of Darkness. And probably I should have lost this game. But we had one unit that just decided to have his best game of his life, and we'll talk about him in just a second. All right, so Daniel's list was Be'lakor, Chaos Chosen Reinforced. Chaos Chosen do so much damage. Some Chaos Knights, a minimum unit, still 250 points for these Chaos Knights. They're a good unit. Chaos Lord, and then Varanguard reinforced. So not a whole lot of units. You know, you've only really got 3 units, and then your 2 heroes. I mean, that's literally all he has. But everything does a ton of damage. You don't want to get mixed up with Be'lakor. He's gonna just mess up your entire game plan with his Dark Master stuff. Chosen will absolutely destroy anything they hit. Varanguard will destroy anything they hit. So, and it's extremely fast. This isn't the teleporting like 7 inches away Chaos Chosen, so I guess I'm glad about that. But I still don't feel great about this matchup. So, unfortunately, I forgot to get a picture of deployment, so we're going to have to go with this. My strategy was, I figure he's going to make me go first. I'm going to line up my Carnosaur. I slow dropped him, so I put stuff up and put Hunter's Swanch up in the sky. He drops his whole army. Then I was able to kind of deploy how I wanted to. I had my Carnosaur here, and my strategy was to run and charge him. So I got the run and charge over here onto the Chaos Knights. There used to be 4 more Chaos Knights right there. So I got a really good charge. I charged in from the right side. And that Carnosaur... that Carnosaur killed off 4 Chaos Knights and almost killed off the entire unit. I don't know how. That Carnosaur has never done that much damage ever in its entire life. So, but don't worry. That's not all that Carnosaur is going to do. The rest of my turn, I moved this Mega-Gargant. Let's remove some of these lines here. I moved the Mega-Gargant up here just to take the lands on this terrain piece. I had thought that, in retrospect, I think I should have put him over on the other side of it, gotten him further away, because he does send in the Chaos Chosen to go get this Mega-Gargant, and maybe that would have made it a little bit harder for him to get to him. But as we were talking the game afterwards, he's like, you know, if you hadn't put him where I could have reached him, then I probably would have shoved these Chosen down the middle, and I think that would have changed the flow of the game. So in retrospect, I'm glad I put him right there, because it got the Chosen to go over to that far right side. But Mega-Gargant is over that way. And everything else, I'm just trying to hang back as far as possible. I'm terrified of these units. I know they can do a ton of damage. And so I'm trying to stay away in his turn. If I can get the priority into turn 2, maybe I can play it a little bit differently. But I set up a couple screens with endless spells. Yeah, that makes the charge easier onto those things, but maybe that'll keep them away from me a little bit. I actually don't have any more pictures of this match, so we'll talk it from here. So my Carnosaur is over here. I hold 1, hold 2 or more. I score max tactics here because I hold this one. And on his turn now, he's got to put some stuff into that Carnosaur to go kill it. But he doesn't want to send everything there. So he sends the Chosen this way to go take care of the Mega-Gargant. And he sends Be'lakor over here to take on the Carnosaur. His Varanguard shift over this way, kind of middle, to react to whatever happens next. And his Chosen just absolutely... I mean, they come in here, and they do have to use their fight twice ability, which is good, because now it's gone. But in both their fights, they do end up killing the Mega-Gargant. He does a little bit of damage. I think he fed one of them to the Carnosaur. Didn't do a ton of damage, though. But they killed him off there. Be'lakor came over here, and I can't remember if he recharged in that guy or not. He may have. But Be'lakor went into the Carnosaur and did not kill the Carnosaur. Now, the Carnosaur was at full health. Whatever damage he had taken previously, it was healed back up. But Be'lakor did not kill him. And the Carnosaur actually did quite a bit of work on Be'lakor. So he brought him down to half health or something. I was shocked. And so that was pretty good. Actually, I don't think he charged in that night. I can't remember. Either way, I was able to hold on to that objective because Be'lakor was there fighting the Carnosaur, and he did not kill him. I had it before. I've got Terror that reduces control down. So I think I was able to hold that. So he didn't score a full 10 in this round. Basically, the way the rest of the game unfolds, this Carnosaur kills Be'lakor. It was completely shocking. I made my saves. I got my heals. I did all the things that the Carnosaur is supposed to do. Just way better than you would ever think. And he ends up killing Be'lakor. So not only did this 230-point Carnosaur kill off 250 points of Chaos Knights, he also killed off 400 and whatever points of Be'lakor. Just absolute Chad this game. So that changes, I think, the dynamic entirely, because now he's essentially lost like 2 units to of his 5, and now he's got to dedicate his Varanguard to go over here and take on the Carnosaur. His Varanguard were sitting here kind of waiting to react to what needed to happen, and they went over and had to deal with the Carnosaur. I did have it lined up. The Chosen were like right in here, and I did have it lined up perfectly. I had all my monsters to crush in here and finish off the Chosen. I hit him with a bunch of spells. I think my battle tactic for that turn was slay the entourage or something on that unit, or something like that. And I had him wrapped up in this corner. I was 3 away with 3 different monsters. I had even gotten fight first on all the monsters, which was pretty cool. I think I may have even had like an endless spell over here to try to fly into him or something like that. I can't remember. But he gets a redeploy, and he gets 6-inch redeploy, and then I make 0 charges. So now not only is he, I don't make any charges, but now he's 9 away. I can't even hit him with my Bastildon Rampage ability. And so I lose that battle tactic. I was unable to kill those Chosen at that moment. And that was kind of disappointing. But what ends up happening, I drop down Hunters of Huanche. I hit the Varanguard at one point with the -1 to their charge. So he flips it over to like Zinch, I think is what it is. So he gets another dice to charge. So they're back to normal, but at least they're not quite as fast. And he starts working his way back around this area. Let's remove some of these real quick. He starts working his way around the map with the Varanguard and taking out monsters, but I'm just throwing up a monster roadblock as I can and then running other monsters back around. At one point, I think I cast Run and Charge on a Bastildon, and I had +2 to move as the Asterism. And so he's going like 13 and then makes a charge into a hero and kills that hero, grabs this objective. So while his basically last unit of Varanguard is going around and killing things, I've got my Hunters of Huanche. I've got a Bastildon up here who's pushing on different objectives. And I'm just able to barely hold out and keep the board away from his Varanguard unit. He's killing everything he touches, but I just have too many units at that point versus what he has. So at the end of the game, he comes down here and kills off this last Engine of the God that was over here, but I still held all of his objectives and was able to score enough points there at the end of the game to win this one. I think it was like a 4-point game, so it was extremely close. This was one of those games where like you walk away and you just have like a headache because I'm sitting here trying to pull out every single trick out of my pocket that I can to keep this game alive. Probably not one I would win again if I tried the same thing. That Carnosaur is probably not going to do that every game. I know he's not going to do that every game. But sometimes you just need him to do it one time. So that Carnosaur, Scar Veteran on Carnosaur, he got the MVP for probably this entire tournament for what he did on this game. It was awesome. It was awesome. My run and charge across the board with the Carnosaur into their flanks. That's what I was planning on doing this entire tournament. Finally worked. Oh, here's the last or the scoreboard there. 4-point game. Awesome game. Ton of fun, Daniel. Definitely would play it again. Next one, we're doing Border Wars, which I really like this battle plan for my army. I feel like I can usually hold those 2 middle ones really easily, and then if I get an opportunity, I can shoot the Mega-Gargant over to theirs and grab that away from them. Except when I'm playing Flesh Eater Courts versus James West. This list just does not have an answer versus Flesh Eater Courts. They have too many attacks, too many bodies, and too much recursion. I don't have enough damage to kill off these units, and then they just keep coming back. And I really don't have an answer for Ushoran. Every time I've played him, he absolutely destroys me. Some people I talk to, I'm like, I can't do anything against Ushoran. He has my name. He has my number. He kills everything. They're like, I don't know. He kind of whiffed every time he attacked me. No, not against me. It's like, this dude does like 20 damage every time he attacks me. Anyway, playing against James, he's a very good player. I mean, it was still a fun game. I mean, it was over quick. So here's our deployments. He's got Ushoran there in the middle. Some smaller units of infantry over there. I've got my Mega-Gargant lined up. I feel like I can win that battle. But he does have knights pretty far back. He's got all his knights screened out. I can't really hit him with hunters. That's what I would have liked to have done. So I can't fit in back here. It kind of looks like we do, but these back 2 inches are actually not playable space. He's got some other Morbeg knights hidden over here, and then Vargulf ghouls or whatever they're called, and then Ushoran there in the middle. So I don't feel like this is going to be a good game for me anyway. If I get a couple monsters on this objective, he's gonna be able to destroy him. So I think my one hope is like a Hail Mary with the Carnosaur. I considered sending him over here, but if I do that, I feel like all he's gonna do is just straight up gank him with those knights, and then he'll push Ushoran right down into my Bastildons. And I don't think I win that fight. I think he'll end up killing them pretty quickly. He's got a good ward. He's got a lot of health. He can heal constantly. So I don't feel like I can win that. I felt like kind of my only option was... this sounds really stupid. But I'm going to run and charge this Carnosaur. Just try to tag him right here. Maybe I can keep Ushoran pinned in. He's got to like spend his turn trying to deal with him. Maybe... he survives one turn versus, his army, and then I can make him, take the double and have to sit there and kill him again. And maybe I can just hold on to these objectives, start wearing some of his stuff down. That's the plan. I get run and charge. He charges into Ushoran. James is smart. He countercharges. He makes a countercharge with these Morbeg Knights onto the Carnosaur. So at that point, I'm already not feeling very good. The Morbeg Knights have a ton of attacks, and so, especially on the charge, they're doing 2 damage. Some of those are going to sneak through. Now I don't feel good. I was hoping I could just make the saves on Ushoran. Ushoran attacks, and that's all she wrote. Ushoran, with his one attack, did, I think it was like 18 or 19 damage or something. It was insane. I failed every single attack. I even got to attack every single save. I did get to attack first. I think I did 1 damage. I did 1 damage to Ushoran, and then he absolutely annihilated that Carnosaur. So now, in my turn, I've just killed my own Carnosaur. And now he's free to move about the table. So I did get my, I moved up over here. I moved a monster here. I think I may have pushed a Bastiladon over here too. But it doesn't really matter. He crashes everything down into me. And within 2 turns, I'm wiped out. So they just have so many attacks. I just can't. I can't deal with that many attacks. And even the stuff I did kill, he was just bringing back. So that's all she wrote. Very fast game. It was still fun. I mean, we still had fun rolling dice and stuff. And me suiciding my Carnosaur. So... I'm not really sure how I would have done this one differently. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I just don't even do that. Maybe I just push. I go super aggro. Maybe I run and charge a Bastiladon. I'm +2 to move, so I can probably make a 6-inch charge with that Carnosaur. Maybe I just go hyper aggressive and try to pin him back. I just don't think that'd work. I don't know. If you have any ideas how a monster mask would deal with effect, let me know. James won the tournament, so obviously he would probably have an answer for it. All right, game 4. We're playing Jaws of Gallet. I like this one actually with my list because what I tend to do on this one, I put my Mega-Gargant back here, and I push this towards the middle, that objective, and then I get all my monsters in the middle, and then force project whichever way I need to. But at least I'm holding 2 in the middle is kind of my plan, and then I can send stuff out as needed. That's kind of what I do to an extent. We'll take a look at this. The army I'm facing first. So I'm playing against David. He's playing a Sylvaneth list, and it's basically a monster list. So we have very few models on the board. So it's going to be a very tactical game. He is also a 3-drop. You got Lords of the Manor with Sylvaneth, Lore of the Deepwood, Manifestations of Deepwood. He's got Alarielle, a reinforced unit of Kurnoth Hunters with great bows, Belthanos, Spirit of Durthu with War Singer, Seeds of Rebirth, and then some Gossamed Archers to score battle tactics. So, lots of healing, lots of, he's going to bring these things back if I do manage to kill him. Lots of movement. So, I actually really like this list. If I was playing Sylvaneth, this would definitely be something I would be interested in. The monsters, with a little bit of tech, some good movement. So it's gonna be a good game. Oh, I would, as I'm looking at this list, I'm thinking to myself, I want to take out these Gossamed Archers. I know he has a chance to bring them back, but maybe he'll fail those. If I can take those out, maybe I can limit his ability to score battle tactics. And then if I can wrap these dudes up in combat, maybe they won't shoot Kroak. I figured they were going to try to target Kroak and take him out. I think they could do that. They get good rend. They do enough damage, I think. So they might be able to do that. That's the plan. Avoid Alarielle at all costs, but I'm not going to be able to do that. So here's kind of deployment. Actually, there's a little bit after deployment. I did a bad job of taking photos this tournament. Sorry, guys. All right, so on my deployment, he makes me go first. I think he won the priority. I think he made me go first. And I kick this objective up the middle this way. So you can see it heading that way. I have a Carnosaur and an engine lined up over here. I move them in, the Carnosaur, and I'm going to try to go attack his Gossamed Archers. He's screening them out here. Alarielle is not in combat range of these Gossamed, so I can go fight them and hopefully kill them off and not engage Alarielle. That means Alarielle, who is here, and Durthu is probably going to fight back over on this side. But if he goes that way, then maybe I can keep these other things free of her for a little while. He's got Belthanos way over here on this side with the Gossamed Archers here. I don't really have anything I can hit those Gossamed Archers with, but I put down some endless spells here, hoping one of them will make the 9-inch charge. And if one of them makes a 9-inch charge, I can probably kill a couple of them at least. They don't. They don't make the charge. This Bastillon is going to sit here on this objective. I feel fairly confident that this Bastillon can hold this objective for a while. If Belthanos or Durthu comes in there, unless I just fail my saves and stuff, I feel like I can outlast him on that objective maybe. So that's the plan. Push this stuff towards the middle. This is a place of power, so Kroak's kind of hanging out here. I think I ended up casting another endless spell back here behind me somewhere to screen off a little bit. My Carnosaur makes a charge over there and deals with those Gossamed Archers, but on his turn, he brings in the Alarielle and takes out... Where's my drawing thing? Hold on one second. Let me get my pin back activated again. Okay. So he brings in Alarielle and Durthu over here. I redeploy the Carnosaur, but I think he still got to him, even with Alarielle. I think Durthu got over there too. Oh, Carnosaur was still feeling good from the last time, and he actually, I think he survived. Durthu failed. Oh no, that was later. Okay, Carnosaur died. That's fine. So in his turn, Carnosaur is dead. So end of turn 1, yet again, Carnosaur has died. He did this every time, but he's taken a lot of damage. he wasn't able to take this objective from me because I've got the engine on it, and he was only able to get Alarielle on it. So I feel still pretty good going into the turn. He did, he was smart here. He played for the underdog because as the underdog, you can remove an objective. And so he was underdog the entire game, and he was just popping objectives off the board the whole time. So it made me play a little bit more aggressive with my monsters and stuff. And in the end, it was a good strategy. So I held all the objectives for most of the game, but he just kept removing them. Eventually, I do make some charges over here. I get those Gosmids. I don't quite kill him. I leave like one, which was unfortunate because he was able to use that one dude to score some battle tactics later in the game. At one point, I run some of these monsters over here. I think an Engine of the Gods to go hit those Kurnoth Hunters, keep them tied up. So that was pretty good. Eventually, I'm able to claim that objective. I hit Belthanos with the Hunters of Huanche later on and kept him kind of at bay with the -1 dice to his charge. And so Belthanos really wasn't much of a factor in this game. I mean, he kept all the other monsters running and charging. I think that's what his ability does. But other than that, it wasn't too much of a factor. He just couldn't ever really get into combat. He failed a couple charges because of the debuff. So that was good. I did fail one battle tactic. I was trying to kill Durthu, and I just needed to do a couple spells on him, and I can't remember if it was battle tactic or not. Whatever it was, I was trying to kill Durthu, and he had like 3 wounds on him. Okay, I have 3 spells. I know he can resurrect, and the rules say it doesn't count as being slain, so even trying to kill him or whatever, it wouldn't count. I do 1 spell. We do a couple mortal wounds. He has like 1 left. I do the other spell. I fail it. So I do another spell. I do the damage. Now it's up to his 3-up roll. He rolls the 3-up. He comes back with 1 health, and he like holds the objective. And there was nothing else I could do to like pop him off or anything. And so I ended up not getting that objective. I can't remember exactly what I was trying to do, but whatever it was, I failed that and lost a few points because of that 1 3-up roll. Eventually, like he's got this objective. I pull this engine back here and charge in the Mega-Gargant. And the Mega-Gargant holds Alarielle and Durthu at bay for, probably 2 turns. And that was pretty big. Durthu had one where he should have had the Gargant dead to rights, but Durthu failed literally everything. I think he was on 3s and 2s, and he rolled all 1s and 2s. So, pretty brutal roll there. But eventually I push everything this way, and I swarm that objective. But I'm never able to come and pressure this objective once my stuff gets killed off, and these 2 are the only objectives left. And then at the last turn, because he went first in turn 5, he was the underdog, he was able to remove this objective, which meant all I could score was my battle tactic of take the flanks, or take their lands, and get 4 points. And we ended up in a draw. Oh, here's the game. This one's not here. This one's already disappeared at this point. So that objective he was able to remove. Belthanos is over here hiding. Durthu is over there hiding. Alarielle's over here hiding. No, not really. She had killed an Engine of the Gods there. But I wasn't able to get anything over to this objective to score that one. And so we ended up in a draw, a perfect draw. Both of us had scored 4 battle tactics. I think we had dropped 1 each. And because he had held underdog the whole time and was removing objectives, it ended up in a draw. But a heck of a game there. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely play that again anytime, David. It was a lot of fun. All right, going into turn 5, or game 5. Thanks for hanging around if you're still here. I go into these videos thinking, man, I'm going to make these shorter. I'm going to go through these quickly, and then I just start talking and reliving the game I just played. And all right, thanks for hanging out. All right, game 5, we're playing Scorched Earth. This one is a tough one. I always feel like this is a tough one, no matter what army I have. Let's be honest. 8 objectives is a lot. GTs like to put this one as the 5th game just to test your mettle. How well are you going to play? in Game 5. I'm playing against DJ. He's playing Lumineth Realmlords, a 3-drop Venari battle host. So he's got some heroes there. He's got some Wardens, which actually are pretty good. Blade Lords, which these guys ended up being way tankier than I thought and were a perfect counter to my army. They have an ability where they just do a bunch of mortal wounds, which is what you need to do against my Basilions and things. Some more Wardens, some more Blade Lords reinforced, and 2 giant blocks of Sentinels. I feel like those are going to be a massive headache for me. These Sentinels, I don't have anything I can reach out and really touch them, except an Alpha Striking Carnosaur. Let's go! All right, I forgot again to take a picture of deployment, but here's the idea. I lined up on the line, and I think I had priority, and I think I decided to take it. I can't remember if I took it or if he gave it to me, but either way, I went first. I gave run in charge to my Carnosaur, and he had a big open space over here. These guys redeployed to try to block it and then piled in, but he had a big space over here. I thought I could get into those Sentinels. And if I could take out a big block of those Sentinels, I feel like that already gives me a pretty good fighting chance. So I go first. I get the run in charge. I get a real good charge. But unfortunately, I drag in the Sentinels into combat as well. So I'm trying to get rid of these marks I made. There we go. So my Carnosaur is up here. I kill off, probably 2/3 of the Sentinels, which is really good. Oh, on the way in, I took 10 damage from them in covering fire. Gosh, I knew I was going to have to do that, but I thought I could save some of them. But no, it was brutal. He just rolls a ton of dice, and then, it's just up to a 4-up, and you're going to fail half of those. So I took 10 damage on the way in. I killed off quite a few of them, but then the Wardens, Wardens were able to kill off the Carnosaur. So again, I lost my Carnosaur in my own turn. Some might say that's not a great strategy, but I feel like I tried tying I killed off quite a few of them. He's going to start rallying them back throughout the game. So maybe that wasn't the best idea. I kicked the Mega-Gargant, his objective over this way. In retrospect, there's probably no reason for that. He doesn't have any teleports that he's going to get over there with. So there was probably no reason for me to kick that over there. Probably the thing that made the most difference in the game was these Hunters of Huanche. I did drop them in turn 1. Generally, I guess maybe only in one other game did I drop him turn 1. But he had left this objective open. He's kind of turtled up or castled up over here on this side. But he left this left side objective open, and I was able to hit these Wardens with their ability and put them at -1 dice to their charge. So in his turn, he does send them over here. I redeploy. I get, a 4 on my redeploy, and now they literally can't make the charge. So I'm able to hold this objective the entire game because I then send my Mega-Gargant up and over this side on my next turn and engage those Wardens, and I take that objective too. So that was pretty big getting that because it kept that objective in my pocket the entire game. So he was never able to get, hold more than me, and I was able to hold more than him the entire game. So over here with the main battle, though, that was kind of the auxiliary battle that was going on. He pushes these Blade Lords down here, and he engages, he charges that endless spell and then engages these monsters here. I tried to get up another endless spell as a screen, but was unsuccessful there. So he engages these monsters, and those Blade Lords actually do quite a bit of damage. I think he ends up killing off that Bastiladon, I believe, with those Blade Lords. They did impressive damage and mortal wound output. The engine kept him tied up, and I was able to swing this one around on my next turn, and eventually I killed those Blade Lords, but it takes a while. Over here, I think he bridges some Sentinels over here. And I think the story of this game was him shooting Kroak. He spent 2 turns putting all his Sentinels into Kroak. I like a dummy put it like I was trying to hide behind this obscuring terrain for totally forgetting that Kroak flies, so he doesn't get obscuring. So I'm in range of his Sentinels. I mean, they have 24-inch range and they can move and he can bridge them. So it's going to be hard to keep Kroak away from him. But he sends, one full unit and then half of what was left after the Carnosaur destroyed him. And actually, if the Carnosaur had not destroyed half of that, Kroak would have died. I think the first turn he got 9 damage through to Kroak, which is impressive because Kroak has, with all out defense, he has a 3-up and then a 4-up ward. So he's tough to kill. But he gets 9 through. So if I roll an 11, he's dead. I don't. I roll like a 4 or 5 on the 3 dice. So perfect. Yes. All right. Well, round 2, he does it again. Shoots them all in there. A bunch of shots again. This time I think he did 10 damage to Kroak. And so if I roll a 10, he's dead. I roll the dice, and I swear, like, one of them was sitting there, like, spinning. We're sitting there watching it, and it comes down, and I roll 9 on the dice. And so Kroak survives by 1 pip of the dice. Huge. There's a lot riding on those dice for Kroak. So that was pretty big. Kroak survives two massive volleys. I think in retrospect, if he had put all that damage into other monsters, it probably would have been a bigger. Obviously, it would have been more useful because in the end, none of that damage mattered because Kroak just heals it all. So, if he had put that damage into monsters, he could have cleared off part of the board. But killing Kroak is a juicy target, and you would think getting that much damage through, you have a really good chance of doing it, but just couldn't quite kill him off. As I continued to put pressure, I got this Bastiladon kind of up, blocking between his terrain piece, which had moved up a little bit, and then the rest of his army. So even on a turn that he had an ability to move out, he had to deal with this Bastiladon. I mean, he was able to come over and kill it. He had enough stuff to come kill it, but it kept him pinned in, and so that allowed me to just keep scoring the rest of this board. So by the time we were going into like turn 3 or 4, most of his army was still here, bottled up, and I had held all of these objectives and this one for most of the game. So at that point, we shook hands and had a good talk after that. So it was a fun game. The Sentinels were absolutely terrifying. Blade Lords ended up being way better than I thought. This terrain piece was giving them all a ward. I think if I were to play it again, I probably, even though this felt like a really good combat to do to tie him up from getting those objectives, I think I would have sent my Mega-Gargant to his terrain piece when it was like here in the middle. I had a Bastiladon into it, but just couldn't do enough damage. But I think if I had sent the Mega-Gargant in it and killed off that terrain piece, that would have shut off his wards that he was projecting out from that thing, which made a lot of his stuff really difficult to kill. So at that point, maybe I could have pushed in a little bit harder with some monsters and done some more damage. So, and my spells would have been more effective. Everything would have been more effective. So I think on a redo, I think I would have gone after that terrain piece a little bit more. So this is the first time I played Lumineth this edition. So happy to get the win there. So good game. Definitely would play that again. So in the end, it was definitely a fun list. Went 3-1-1. I feel like I probably could have scraped. Maybe I could have. If I played a little bit tighter, maybe I could have gotten that bye. I don't think there's anything I could have done against the loss I had. But I probably should lose that Slaves of Darkness game again if we played it again. So overall, I think it's about what I expected from this list. Getting 3 wins. That's what I was going in for. So good showing for Bundo. Would I take him again? Probably not. I think there's some things I could do to this list to tune it up. I definitely need some things, some screens, some stuff to be a little bit faster than some of these monsters. Maybe I don't always run in charge Scar Veteran on Carnosaur turn 1. Because I think late game he can be a problem to deal with if he's sticking around in the later half of the game. He's fast enough. he can do a little bit of damage, and if the big hammers are otherwise engaged, maybe he won't get destroyed instantly. So, play a little bit more tactically than just charge straight ahead. But that's fun. That's the fun part. And without charging straight ahead, I wouldn't have the moments where he is an absolute hero in the Slaves to Darkness matchup. So, all right, fun times, guys. Thanks for sticking around this long, and we'll see you next time.